$1 bill, yo.
Howdy everybody, I'm Thomas Blair.
And I am Mark Halash.
And this is patch notes from the near future. That's right, you are experiencing some of these patch notes in our 5.5 snap test that people have been playing the last couple days as we iron out all of the stuff that we broke while building 5.5. Because that always happens. It just does.
Yeah, you're in there, stuff gets jiggled around.
Every time you pull the engine out, sometimes it...
you forget to put a bolt back in.
There's a bolt that, or you're like, hey! All right, anyways, so we are going to do, this is our reading of the patch notes. You guys are familiar with this, for those of you who have been here before. And we are going to tell you some of the reasoning why we did some of the things. It's not just a reading of the patch notes. It also explains what we were thinking, in some cases what we weren't thinking. And let's do it. Okay, disciplines, you want to go?
Sure. Let's see. Fashion statement now grants 1 additional amulet slot instead of 2.
Yeah, I nerfed the shit out of that one. By 50%, in fact.
High elf racial amulet slot now grants... Oh, high elf racial amulet slot grant now shares the same slot as amulet slot granted by manner discipline fashion statement.
There you go.
Effectively, they don't stack, right?
Right, yeah, because necklaces are too good now to let high elves get 4 of them with the fashion statement. Yeah, so...
and in much the same vein, Ganetian racial ring slot grant now shares the same slot as ring slot granted by manner discipline hand of glory.
So exact same thing. Everybody can get up to 3 ring slots or 2 necklace slots. Some races get it for free, and others have to use disciplines to get there.
All right.
As with all of our other systems. A lot of this is we're shifting out a lot of the testing stuff, so we got rid of all of the test potions, and the last piece of testing crafting stuff in there is disciplines, which will probably move to a vendor in the somewhat near future. And then the book will be kind of pristine. It means if you see something in there, that's what we intend to ship with. So, like yesterday, I added in that first basic discipline that you craft to get the ethereal sight. That should be, I don't intend that to be testing. That should be permanent. I'll probably end up moving, I think Way of the Leader is currently a free passive that everybody gets, as so is Weapon Finesse. I'm going to move those to miners and put them in that section as well, so that I'll either put them there or I'll put them at the intermediate rank, so that there's a nice progression of things to craft in the beginning other than just a weapon and tools. Right, we're trying to give you guys a bunch of stuff to do because, again, we're starting to shift from, hey, let's build a lot of standalone systems and let's start making it play like a game. EKs temporarily come with a crypt parcel, which should allow access to vessel changes. Temples within campaigns and EKs no longer support the ability to change vessels. Yes. If you want to change your currently equipped vessel, you have to go to a crypt from now on. Don't look for it at the temple anymore, for those of you who have been playing for a while. And the crypt should be fairly obvious. It's this little cave that you go down into, and it looks all...
Very crypty.
Crypty. Actually, it looks a little happy crypty. They're going to make it more dark and evil crypty here soon. New and improved Wrath map is ready and in play, complete with spider mobs and adventure zones. Specifically, the adventure zone is the canyons that are all snapped together to make Spider Canyon. Crypts have been added to the areas outside of beachheads. Water wells now exist within Wrath, which grant water flasks used in crafting recipes. I didn't see a water well out there, but they should be out there. Go up and after interacting, you'll get some water. Crafting stations have been removed from the beachheads. All basic crafting can now be accessed using the J menu. Yep. So when you're in the beachhead, everything we want you to craft there is accessible via J. Go out to the forts and the keeps to get the intermediate recipes at the stations out there. And then the advanced stuff will also be at some of the stations.
Let's see. Ground targeted abilities will no longer automatically sync to the ground and will act as expected when aimed at areas such as the top of ramparts, catwalks, or in buildings. So that's a good improvement. I believe there is still an issue where the reticle itself may not draw on certain objects. But no, if you're on top of something, if your cursor is there, it will deploy the effect on whatever it is you're pointing at.
Okay.
Right? But the actual reticle itself may still be appearing under it, but it actually should be deploying at the proper spot. That's something we're going to fix. So.
Which bleeds weren't getting buffed before? Most bleeds weren't getting buffed before. Okay.
So remove the resource costs from Wild Charge, Gestalt, Headbutt, Fairy Fire, Saltpeter Rounds, Backhand, Humiliate, and Call Flames. Basically, most of the
racials.
Activated racials. And a lot of that had to do with just the way we're trying to basically make things work for PIP users, which sometimes just doesn't work as well.
Oh, so, the PIP users.
Yeah, we love them. And because we love them, we did this. Added the short cooldown to Assassin Backstab.
Yes, we're still tweaking with that one.
Yeah, we might look that again.
It was, but it definitely 3 backstabs in a row on every stun was a little too much.
Added the screen shake to diffusion when used with a toxin, so that should feel a little more impactful. Assassins will no longer attempt to infect rocks, trees, and dead animal corpses with their toxins. Let's see. Champion.
The 3rd basic attack while an ultimate warrior should properly find a target now. Yeah, that one had a weird checkbox set that was, yeah.
Disciplines. Mole Hunter heads up. See invisibility should work properly now.
Okay.
Scarecrow Aura of Terror should take into account perception stat. Glass Cannon can now be loaded out into the stealth trays. And Naiad Water Spirits can now be cast while moving. Apparently lasts forever.
And, yeah, and is generating
other news,
hundreds of thousands of errors on the server that will hopefully be fixed today. Okay.
Yeah.
Are bandages going to be locked to the basic survival training to make and or use currently free? The goal with bandages is to give people something that they can heal with while they're doing the adventure areas. It was painful when we were out there doing it in our version of the 5.5 testing, so I implemented the bandage stuff. The goal is there will be better bandages in the survival unlocks in basic exploration, and the basic ones might come down a little bit to make some more room in there for better ones. But yes, survivalist will be getting bandages. The High Elf Bloodline does not say what percentage the dodge clear cast is. Is it still 25%?
That I don't know without looking at it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was one of a million stats.
I made that power 3-4 months ago, so... can you explain why dust was added to so many crafting recipes? Yes, because it was always intended to be there. We just hadn't added it in, and it was in the phase of testing we were in, we weren't ready to add it in there. Now that we're shifting from, again, like I say, from that pure testing mode to, hey, let's make a game out of this, we're now starting to add in a lot of these elements. What is the status of the Centaur rear kick working again? There's clearly a ticket in there, I remember seeing it. Basically, it's any combo that we are prompting from a non-power combo. That's what we call a tag-based combo, and it is mechanically, that's how it's implemented. Those broke at some point. I can't remember what else was a tag-based combo.
Retaliate.
Huh.
But that was given its own system.
Yeah, actually Akshay went in there and did a bunch of hard coding for that. With a cooldown on backstab, the ability from Black Mass that makes all attacks hit from the back for 10 seconds becomes pretty useless. Will you consider changing this? As we adjust backstab, we will definitely tweak anything that's related to it, like Black Mask. Damage and conditions numbers text clutter the screen, making it especially hard for healers range to see their targets as well as what's going on. Will you address this issue, offsetting text numbers? Yes. We have been waiting for the fly text upgrade for
a while,
a year and a half now. That ticket's been in. Billy went in and did all of the work converting into tweets. Right now, our fly text is incredibly expensive on the client too, because it's using animators. So we built this tween system for a lot of our stuff. We just haven't had the time to go over and convert that. We're waiting on an engineer to free up, and the new fly text has little. It goes out in arcs. It's not just the straight up and down. It's more legible, yeah, and it's way more performant. We just need to get it implemented. We can see when an opponent has a barrier up, a white line around their health. Can we get the same for our own health bars or group members' health bars so we know when the barrier's up? Yes, we should. When Billy gets back into the combat HUD, we should definitely clean up a lot of that stuff, because we haven't touched the combat HUD in over a year now. Will gold continue to just drop from monsters? The idea with gold, there's something about minting it in there. I don't know with the rate that we have it in the world if it would be too much coming from harvest. We'd have to look at it. But the goal is eventually that the gold moves from the critters to the NPCs only like the zombies. We just don't have enough critters and NPCs in the map right now to start splitting up all the loot tables. So basically the loot tables will change again when we have a bigger spread. I've seen some cooler NPCs in progress, specifically on your desk. So I know we're getting more in the next update. Not 5.5, 5.6. Frostweaver ETA. Frostweaver is not in production yet, so she's going to be a while. Can the Templar Leap be changed where the stun lands at the point that they land? It would be nice to use environmental objects such as rocks to increase the range on your stun leap.
Yeah, so there's still some pieces missing that we had before, but then lost, and then got back and then lost again. With that, specifically, like for example, with the leaps and the charges and all that, you still squirt right past them. We want to basically make it so if once you hit a valid target, a valid enemy target, it will stop, and then it will be easier for you to use that actually as a stun.
Good to see you. Excuse me.
See you later, Blair.
Goodbye, Blair. Bye forever.
Oh
Yeah, so still some work that needs to be done with both leap and pollen season here in Texas.
Yes, the pollen is in effect.
Now the cedar's gone, it's pollen time.
Yep.
And after that, it'll be more pollen. So short answer to your question, still more work needed to be done on the general physics of things like leap and charge and whatnot, because we're still not happy with it yet.
Yeah. Even though I did see something Andy was doing with the champion leap so that it would hit and fall.
Yeah, so work is being done. Work is being done.
Okay, so did jewelry stats get buffed in 5.5? Yes. Jewelry stats got buffed a lot, and necklaces were added. Make sure you go out there and get some Chaos Embers, I believe, is the new component required for necklaces. Please tell me whoever did the new sounds for Gaia's Whale and the Druid Orb detonation, they did a great job. Yes, we have a new sound contractor, and he has been going through everything and adding new sounds. If I create a vendor NPC, can I sell that vendor NPC to someone who does not have training that they can use it anytime? I don't know yet. We haven't put any rules on who can use vendors right now. You can totally just
buy one and use it.
Just buy one and use it with no skills. Can you address the concern that the corpse run mechanic will mean that the attackers during a siege can't re-rally and continue the siege if they are wiped once? Going back to a battlefield would mean getting corpse camped by the defenders, unless they all tow truck. Is it your intent for siege attackers to be in such a precarious position?
Well, I mean, resurrection, right? I mean, that's part of the reason we
I
added
mean,
the ability to resurrect.
There's a whole lot of... I guess if you armchair design that one, there's a whole lot of kind of corners you can back yourself into. We thought we put in enough tools with the resurrects and the tow truck to kind of work your way around some of those problems.
I mean, we want right now it's a little easier because there's not that much sting and death. There's a time penalty, but there should be, like, you shouldn't want to not die. You should want to stay alive, right? I mean, honestly, right? A lot of games, you know, if you're playing a first-person shooter or whatever, you just die and respawn and die and respawn and die and respawn.
Right.
You know, we want that to have a little more sting with our game, to where you don't want to die. It's a big, you don't want to, you know, because it basically means you might lose.
Yeah.
Right. There's real risk. So, you know, but you hope. I mean, if Resurrect's not enough, you know, there's games we can play with the cooldowns if we think we want you to be able to come back more quickly or whatever.
But if the attacking team suffers a full-on wipe,
yeah,
like,
I guess they lost.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
the defense is weighted in the for the defenders, right? The entire siege is weighted in favor of the defenders. So if they were able to wipe you, I don't know that they're going to corpse camp you, as they're going to go knock down the Bane trees and end the siege as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So again, that's why I called that a bit of armchair designing, because you can paint yourself into whatever corner you want to.
Right. But
more than likely, what they're going to want to do is end the siege, because then their buildings are no longer at risk, right? Why is Behead locked behind an advanced rune tool while Res is not? Because we wanted to do it that way. And this way, the rune tool guys will always have a use for axes. So that's +1 to the the Rune Crafters market. Please remove boars from beachheads. We actually need a newbie creature out there. In fact, the boars at the beachheads
aggro anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So that was something else that I fixed.
But we need some level 1 leather out there. So by the time that you move from the beachhead to the forts or keeps, you can craft your intermediate armor. So that's one of the reasons that they're there, is because you need leather from them. It's no longer stone and ore to make that first set of armor. Retrieving on the altar means your inventory is gone, bugger intended. That is correct. So if you tow truck back at the altar, all of the stuff that was lootable is back on your cairn that's out there. You can run back out there and get it if you want to, but that's where it is. So it is intended. Your equipped stuff right now is not left on the cairn. And that's going to be tuned by basically the rules of looting for that campaign. And that is to prevent people from tow trucking to beat people grabbing their lootable stuff. Any chance you're considering reworking the issue of stacking range modifiers, allowing Elkins to have 85 meters? Yeah, again, we're going to tune those numbers if we find it too far. Ultimately, we have the stat caps on there protecting us from it getting too crazy. But we also don't have a single path to getting to a max value. One of our philosophies is there's multiple ways to do things. That way you're not stuck min-maxing in a very specific way.
Right. It's
right.
Like, well, if you want to be an ranger, you got to be an Elkin.
Right.
You know.
So if you want to find a different way to get something, then we've put that in. So if you don't want to use Hand of Glory, you can play a Ganetian, and you get 3 ring slots. There's 2 different ways to get there. So it gives you always options. Options, options, options. Gordon controls all of letting people into the tests. I don't know how many people he's going to want to let into test before we bring it to live. Now that we're starting to run it like an actual test server, where we have vendors that have all of the resources there, so you can craft. The downside to playing on test is you get oftentimes the nastiest bugs that can be seen.
You're literally jumping into the meat grinder potentially, but
Yeah.
but it helps us a lot.
Yeah.
Because this is where the biggest nails get. Oh, we gotta get rid of that. Sand that down before we go to a larger audience. But.
Yep. New death mechanic is exactly what we needed. Can't run back to fights as easy. Can't release and respawn. Yeah, that's why we looked at redoing it. I thought the minor disc that adds support power for non-healer classes would be in 5.5, but I don't see it.
Yeah,
yes.
Check and make sure that the magic checkbox.
No, it's there.
Is it there? Okay.
I put it on the Spider Queen.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Kill the Spider Queen.
Go kill the Spider Queen arcade if you want to get a chance to get that minor discipline.
Start camping. No, you shouldn't have to camp. In fact, we'll probably respawn before you're done with. I'm kidding. No. Spawn time should be okay.
Okay. Any chance that Spirit Crows will go faster? Yeah, you know what? I need to make the Spirit Crow move a little quicker. And what race should get to move faster with their Spirit Crow? Or should we make that a training box? Skill node.
That sounds kind of like that's probably something everybody wants, right? Or you could do both.
Oh.
Do everything. Do it all.
Maybe the Spirit Crow could go a little higher. Too.
We need to rework the entire movement model of the Crow, because it's just that was what we put in, and it clearly needs to feel way better.
Reminds me of Jump, a certain game that I worked on once.
We killed the Spider Queen already. Yes, it is a loot table, so there is a % chance to get the things. In fact, I think I put 2 other. There's like 3 disciplines it can drop. Eventually, we're going to start. We will, near the end, all of the disciplines will be out of the book, and they will go in their various ways. The majors and the weapon ones. You already know how a weapon one is made. The majors will migrate to the capturing thrall mechanic in the world, and all of the minors will come from probably these little bosses that we're putting in the world. Centaurs need faster in combat and out of combat movement. Please add Trailord as a centaur only run buff. When we put mounts in, yes, the centaurs will get their fast movement when they're mounted, just like everybody else. They're just not going to be riding.
They'll be riding themselves.
They'll be riding themselves. They won't. Yes, there's always an edge
centaur
case.
riding another centaur.
Race affecting the crow makes no sense. You're not invested while you're in crow. Good
Boom.
point. So then we'll put it in the skill tree. How's that sound? Make your crow move faster, and that will probably go in the exploration. Yes, exploration sounds good. Okay, keep up the great work, you guys. Thank you, Jack Noel 04. Camping Commander and Traveler, yes. Oh, yes. I still love the stories of Commander being one guild keeping Commander spawn on lockdown for months to prevent other guilds from sieging because you needed Commander to siege. Any news on Fae release date? Yes. Fae will be releasing soon.
Love it.
Love it. Yes. We are waiting on 2 key pieces of tech for the Fae. Care to comment on mount ideas? Yes, I do care to comment on it. It will be awesome, and coming to you probably soon as well.
In fact, the Fae will be riding a mount when. No, I'm kidding.
I
don't know that.
The Fae will come in riding a mount at the city. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Any news on Frostweavers? Yes, designing. Yep, designing. Because again, the hold on the Frostweaver has kind of been a play on my part to make sure we have some engineering free to get us a couple new tech pieces. I didn't want to make a ice version of the Confessor because that would be kind of boring. I wanted some fun, new, exciting things. Unfortunately, to do that, I need a couple pieces of tech, and we're building a lot of other gameplay systems right now. So I've been kind of holding that one in my pocket, waiting for the time when I could get those engineering features. Yes, the accelerated training is back on. And a druid can remove a naiad healing orb via blight.
Cool.
They shouldn't be able to because it should ignore...
Yeah, I'll have to look at it.
The naiad orb doesn't have the same... I think it's a tag. There's a tag that's on the life orbs.
Halash, I'm sending this to you anyway.
Okay. Very well.
Any word on changing armor penetration at higher guild skill levels? Yes. In fact, you talked to Charlie about that, so why don't you...
Oh, yeah, so the whole... armor penetration and armor are meant to be opposing stats. So right now what's happening, though, is the cap is being applied first, and then armor penetration is coming in, and it will knock it down to whatever, right? The intention is you can have... you could actually have effectively 90% armor, even though it's capping at 75. Somebody can come in with 20% armor penetration, and you have 70% armor. That's the intention. It's not doing that, but it will be doing that for 5.6. We're not sure. We didn't think we'd be able to get it in for 5.5, so maybe a 5.6 thing. But that's the intention for how that's going.
So in the future, it will always benefit you to go as much above the cap on armor mitigation as possible, because that will fight against the end penetration number, which will make it a different stat than our other stats because it won't have basically that hard capping that we do with everything else. Well, it will still hard cap, but in a sense that you only get 75% max. The Duber changing, yeah, so Borland snuck that in at the end there. Because we needed the Duber for when the head pops off when you death blow somebody. But since no one's death blowed anybody, they haven't seen the final... somebody put up a fun video for it. Actually, Gibson, did you do that as part of Fight 5?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's seen it, though.
Okay.
You
but
will see it.
when the head pops off when you death blow somebody, you get a Duber of their skull, and then you get to keep the items, and it'll say, like, Skull of Srathor, for example. To get that in, Borland resurrected an old ticket that I'd put in, which was, let's get Dubers more... they're not physical objects like they were using the physics system. They're now locations and effects, but the effect to the player is the same. However, they're way cheaper on the server, and we can make the client look prettier when it bounces out, and it won't suffer from any type of overloading to the physics system that's going on at the time. So it's great. So you guys should see benefits from that. Oh, also, when he talked about the contribution rules, because just like we had to add contribution rules for groups for killing creatures who can actually skin it and who gets XP credit, we use that same system for the dubers. Whereas if Mark and I are grouped and he harvests and I don't do anything, I still see the duber. But Jack, who likes to steal things, doesn't see the dubers at all. The only way for him to get our dubers is to kill us in combat.
Oh, darn.
So, there you go. Can you slot that skull into a wall on your EK? Not yet. I need to make some crafting recipes so that you can mount with wood and heads. You can make a head on. Yep.
On your wall.
Stoneboard update. I have seen a lot of good art over the last 2 weeks. So the Stoneborn is being built. Coming
soon.
Seems like a lot is moving away from more and more physics, value, and effort to try and use it, but thank God you moved away from it. So Zach did. The dubers being placed on the physics system was just because we wanted to get it in at the time, and that was what we had the time for. And now that we're getting more into let's try and optimize as much as possible, things like that don't need to be using.
Don't have to be.
Right? So clearly we want to pull as much out because that leaves more room for combat and other things to happen on there. And things like dubers, which happen all the time because people are constantly harvesting, it just doesn't need to be putting a physics load on us. Damage inflation question. Do you agree we saw significant damage inflation with the accelerated training? Any plans to compensate healing? Right now, we're not adding any more healing. We'll see how it plays out. And the extra, even though you guys see 500 attack power, that converts into 50 basically weapon damage, which was another 30% on top of weapons, isn't breaking the bank as far as we're concerned. So there you go. There are a lot of things that came online in the last month, and it wasn't just attack power on weapons.
There's a lot of different systems working finally.
Right.
And
the advanced skill training, and there were some bugs in the advanced skill training.
Yep.
And there was 2 other things that I mentioned in our internal emails on the subject that are coming into play in 5.5, and I can't remember exactly what they were. Oh, jewelry.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
The increased stats on jewelry, and I added some exotic stats on the necklaces specifically that are going to bump things just a little bit more. And then there was one other aspect, I can't remember what that is. Shields got way better for the mitigation side of the house. And then when we get in the armor penetration changes, that will also affect things in the other direction, meaning over-armored people will feel more over-armored than they currently do. And basically, to sum it all up, I want to get all of the pieces on the board before we start making knee-jerk reactions, right? Because then you end up with legacy things like, why did we nerf or buff healing to this degree?
It's like, why? And next thing you know, because once everything's online, we don't want to be like, well, now healing's way too good. And then we have to try to pull that back, and you guys
What's
get
funny
very,
is
very angry at us.
That also becomes like one of those cohort moments where people of that cohort remember when healing used to be good. Yeah. So we don't want to create any of those. We want to get all of the pieces into play, and then we can look and see which ones. Like the armor penetration was a great one because we didn't realize that was what was happening, and we're like, you know what, we need to change that. So we want to get everything out there. We'll look to see where the high nails are, and then we'll start getting it into final balance. But thank you for continuing to play as those things come online, because we can see where the things that we're implementing are broken. Okay.
You were at 10 after, just as...
Okay, so we have a couple... the hunger tick rate is just too fast. It's possible to lose 7 chicken tickers in a single group fight. That may be a little high. However, we do have a bunch of things to counter that. And if we need more, we can add more. Be it bigger food, because I know everyone's using apples rather than briskets, and a brisket is 3x as good as an apple, if I'm not mistaken. So more food. Eventually, if we get crops online, that will help the food problems. I know centaurs can get an enhanced stomach in their vessel crafting. Thank you, Mr. Halash, on that one. So we have a lot of answers to those things. Hopefully you guys will start to see them. And if we need to add a couple more in the skill trees to reduce the rate of food tick, we will also look at that as well. Cleric ultimate power not charging with healing by design or bug.
Bug, if you're healing, if you're trying to heal, it should charge if you're healing others. If you're healing yourself, no.
Okay.
If you're healing others, then yes.
So healing other players will get you supercharged.
Healing dummies, no.
No, yeah,
Don't expect that to stay.
We're
by the way,
we're clearing out a bunch of those ones that are silly, like, or if there was catapults in there, I'm sure on catapults it would also work, but it's not intended to work. We will.
So don't get used to it.
Yeah. Why can't we see food values in game tooltips? Because I didn't go ahead and add them in. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to dynamically pull the item tooltip text from the stat of the power that it triggers. I have to manually do that, and that's just on my list. I was waiting to come up with the values that I was happy with. I may do that sometime soon. Enhanced stomach equal cow body centaurs. Please give me the option to make a cow centaur body. The leftover bits.
This is a good one.
Which one? Okay. Yeah. I don't know that minotaurs get the enhanced stomach.
In fact, this should probably... Oh, go on. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's... And that'll tweak. You guys, once you start vessel crafting, will come up with some, hopefully, problems with any things that we left out there or cool things to add. Next question. You added glass cannon to the stealth tray, but there were a lot of other combat miners which should be slotted there. Sturdy, uniform leather, plans to add them.
Yeah, so basically, as far as, well, I guess it's stealth tray, I suppose. I was thinking harvesting tray. But, so I just fixed a bug, and I don't believe, I didn't saw it on these patch notes, but just fixed a bug, basically, that prevented a lot of things from working in the harvesting and stealth trays. So you should find that improved with 5.
Okay. There you go. And there was one more question I wanted to do. It was cleric 10 wounds make 100% uptime on soul charge trivial. I'm sure Mr. Halash can look at that and see why that is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting... Basically, you should only be getting supercharged if you're healing a target that needs to be healed.
Okay.
So if it's not working that way, it will.
Will leadership passive slot into the stealth tray? Yes. I went and reworked the entire way of the leader passive, so it's way more reliable now in 5.5. So I would recommend that someone in your group uses it, trains those skills as a group leader, and give feedback on if it's working or where it's breaking. But yeah, I put a bunch of effort into reworking the way that entire thing works, so it should work way better, and I don't know why it's not in the patch notes. I'll have to get on Valley for that.
I'm just going to spawn the rank 1 version, which will still murder me. But I shall endeavor my best to... So, as you can see, she's going to do basically one of her 3 attacks.
You got caught.
Yeah, I'm too busy trying to
talk.
Trying to talk and fight at the same time, and watch tells. But basically, she's going to do her basic stuff until I get her to under a third, and then she will, which I believe I've already done. So now that she's under a third, she's going to do that pattern, which is basically jump, jump, slam, flurry. And then she'll jump again, and then she'll jump again and catch me because I'm not paying attention, and she'll flurry and just wreck me. And then I think she'll probably do it one more time. Nope, no, she's back to normal mode.
Because the tag fell off.
Because the tag fell off after 20 seconds. And then if I can get her under a third, then she'll do the thing, which is like, hey, I should hit it. No, you shouldn't hit it.
Don't hit that.
You shouldn't.
Because now you're at 500 health.
Oh God! And then I ate a sting to the face. But basically, that's what that looks like. Yeah. So I mean, that's NPCs in a nutshell.
So there are lots of things we're still doing with the NPCs. There's a bunch of bugs that are getting fixed.
Yeah. So there's several things that aren't even happening right now. For example, as far as aggro is concerned, they will pick a target, and that's who they hate. They don't really switch their targets right now. They don't assist. That's another thing that will make the difficulty ramp up a little bit. But right now you can single pull them in a pile, and they'll just come singly. Don't expect that to last. They will assist each other, which basically means if there's one NPC and another NPC, and they assist, then if you pull the one, the other will come, unless they're far enough, unless they're out of it.
The timing is still off.
Yeah, there's a pretty serious bug with animations occurring about a half a second or more late. So you'll see basically, it shows up the worst probably on the zombies. They do their big tail attack and they start winding up, and then you take like 2,000 damage and then they swing. That obviously we're gonna fixing.
It basically, you guys are keying dodge rolls and blocking and getting out of the way off of the tell, and then something happening, and that is, if that timing is off, then you guys will obviously fail at that, right? So again, we're trying to make it all mo better and add some new features and then prototype some new stuff. We're also playing a little bit with, so when you did the Spider Queen there, if you saw the red eyes flashing, you may not know exactly what to do. So we're playing with bringing back for NPCs. Greg has some prototypes for us so we can tell where the attack is happening and how long you have before the attack happens. I don't know why the playback was so slow there, but let's see. There it goes. That's much better. And you can tell how much time you have to get out on it based on that telegraph. I can show it for the stun as well, so you can tell, get the hell out of the circle. We're only going to try this for the NPC combat because I think it's needed. For players, we're not going to use those tele-attacks, but we want to see how they work because, again, the red eye flash, you can see it happening there. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. However, at least the ground attack tells you to get the hell out of the ground, right? Which is why we like it. So again, we're prototyping with some fun stuff. We expect the NPCs to get even better as engineering gives us some more bugs and some more features. And we kind of work through this first couple batch. The spider is our first big prototype, right? And then we're moving into, in 5.6, you'll see a couple more animals coming online. And our friend the Hellcat will get a little bit of revisiting as well. Yeah, and I think
like all the NPCs in 5.5 are using the new system. So the fact that you guys didn't notice any difference makes me happy. So that was by design, but like I said, we already compared the old zombie versus the new zombie. Actually, the muskhogs are even more impressively scaled down because they went from the big spaghetti mess that we showed you guys to 3 lines, basically, because they're very simple. The hogs, they basically follow you and bite and bite and bite.
Yeah.
But
so okay, so I think we'll open it up to questions now because that's pretty much the presentation. Is it possible to make the bosses stand out more? Spider Queen, for example, make them twice as big as the other ones, or give them a different look, or do both? So you're fighting a boss. Really like the idea of fighting bosses in the game.
Yeah. So for this particular iteration, the boss was kind of added later in the we didn't know we were going to have bosses initially. So we basically the boss was added a little later in the cycle. But that said, there is tech we would need to make these guys either tech or more animations to make the support having these guys be too big. Might be able to make these guys a little bigger, but I came up as much as I was comfortable doing it with side, because the spider, actually we could probably show you that.
Yeah, weird things start to happen when you basically just increase the size of the prefab.
Go, I need to be alive.
So we actually need to ask for some tech to let us scale these things, because it's not just the prefab that you want to scale. You want to scale the animations, and you want to scale the effects. Otherwise, it looks weird when you have this really big spider, and it would play the exact same effect.
Yeah.
CSR?
Oh, well, it's not like they'll be able to use them either way. So let me show you the difference. If you look at them side by side, it sticks out a much better, right? You can see the spider. The queen is appreciably larger than the normal size one, right? She's actually 60% larger.
Yeah, she's actually there. You can totally tell that she's way bigger.
But I mean, in a vacuum, you're like, I mean, and she's taller than the knight. She's already taller than the knight, right? As opposed to the normal size ones only come up halfway. Spiders are a weird example because they're like low profile vehicles. They're like sports cars almost. So they don't look, it's much easier when something's 60% larger and it's towering above you because it's that.
Now you've done it.
Now I've done it. I'll have to punch it to death.
And your gear is...
My gear. Fine, you win. You win, Spider. I give up.
Let's go back to the questions.
Yeah, back to the questions.
So yes, we will get some scaling tech in to make them bigger. We're scaling them as big as we can without causing a bunch of ugliness.
Yeah, because like I said, the animations, you'd basically... you'd notice it, right? Because basically the spider would appear to skate, especially if they're too big. The legs would be moving more quickly than the spider.
Make the fights too easy with big tails. I don't think that it's making it too easy, Drenthal. I think it's making it so you understand what's happening. So if you understand what the boss is going to do, then you can feel successful when you get out of the way or block or do some fun combo that allows for some setups and interplay. So that is what we're trying to do.
Right, and I mean, and there's things we can tune as far as like how long you have to react to, right? We're always going to account some degree for lag, but I mean, just the difference between 1.1 and 1.5 seconds makes a really big difference in your time to get out of the way, right? It's the distance between you, whether you can walk out or you have to dodge out, right? I mean, there's lots of room to play with that.
The guards, once aggroed, will continue certain animations long after their target has left the area. Presumably, they are doing processes behind the scenes as well. Is it possible this is causing some of the performance issues we are seeing at some of the forts? Yeah,
I mean, there's still issues with potentially NPCs weren't dropping their targets. So yeah, potentially, right? I mean, there was also a problem where NPCs weren't sleeping like they were supposed to, right? So that could actually be they're all symptoms of the same sort of cases, right? So basically, server things that I believe are probably been fixed by now.
Yeah, so they fixed a bunch of that stuff, and I think we went from like less than 200 NPCs in a map to over 800 in the current version of Wrath. So we keep cranking up the number because basically the NPCs that nobody is near, they just go to sleep. Which is good for server perf, and the fact that the servers are still behaving as we expect them to with adding 4x the NPCs is a pretty big deal with the with all this new rewrite. Telegraph for players is pretty much pointless coming from WildStar. You really can't react to player telegraphs due to latency and server favoring the attacker. Yes,
yeah,
which is why we're primarily just concerned about the NPCs.
Yeah, players don't sit still either.
So. Yeah, so it makes the NPC game more fun for players. It causes a lot of problems, which is why we're not looking to do it on players. We're just looking to do it for NPCs. When can we expect a new UI for trading and dueling and invite, for example? Oh, yes, basically the... How do I interact with another player? That is part of the social system stuff that is about to get kicked off. So, not too soon, but soon. How crowded do you want the map to feel in regards to mobs? Currently, the gap between the ones I find is pretty large. Yeah, we're trying to put them in like the canyons or other adventure areas, a higher density, and the rest of the world is mainly resources. But there will be some sprinkling of NPCs out there as well. Will it be possible to sell items to a vendor, maybe have predetermined trade by setup, rune tools for wood, etc.? We generally did not want to have NPC vendors. So players at some point will get the ability to tell their vendor to buy... I have a buy order basically for 1,000 copper. So you'll be able to sell it to a vendor. But you're really selling it to Mark, who's just offline, who said, hey, put a buy order up for this. Why is there no intermediate shovels? Grave digging and necromancy are both considered more advanced of the trade skills. That's why there is no basic or intermediate shovel, because that's kind of a a non-beginner game kind of thing. Will there be an auction house as well? No, there will not be an auction house. Auction houses cause a series of problems. That is not the game we're trying to make. We're trying to make a game where you can be a shopkeeper and you have a shop that you maintain and people go shopping at the vendors. Now, that may not sound like the easiest way to get gear if you're looking for gear, but eventually you will find a shopkeeper who finds who's always stocked with what they sell and has prices that you consider reasonable, and generally you become what is known as a customer of that shop, and that is the experience we're trying to create. The auction house generally is a race to the cheapest price and the easiest way to get it, and everything just becomes a fractional value of what it's worth because everyone's just trying to make the sale, so they end up undercutting each other by 1 gold or whatever, and it's not good for a player-driven economy. Right. Now, if there's a shop that you go to, location is now all of important. It's hugely important to the shopkeeper, right? Am I closest to the rune gate in whatever world the players have created as the Walmart world or the Target world that people go shopping at? People closer to the rune gates have basically they'll get preferential sales because a lot of people just don't care and they'll just go to the closest thing that they can find. Right.
I mean, it's an important part of being in a world, going to a place in a world.
Yeah. Right. So, again, that's the experience we're trying to create and not the one of the race to the cheapest price auction house style that you've seen in every other game.
Right. At that point, it's just Amazon, right? You're just like, order something. Here it comes. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, it's got the convenience factor, but everything is just undercut by a penny or whatever, and it's ridiculous. How is Stoneborn development coming? Haven't really heard much about that in a while. Can we expect it sometime in the next couple of patches? Yes, you can. Expect it in the next couple of patches, because that's pretty nebulous. But
couple means 2, though.
I definitely saw Stoneborn.
If it's not by 5/7, then get the banners out. He means within several.
I definitely saw the Stoneborn on a outside of modeling and into the animation phase.
It is existing.
It is moving along down the road.